Hi. In this video, I just wanted to talk briefly about eldership um, and the roles. So this is, I guess, maybe talking to people my sort of age. So I'm 55 now, and maybe people who are kind of 40 up. Let's talk to you. Anyone 40 up, particularly people my age and older. So, this sequence of videos have been talking about inviting people to think about how they live their lives and how they think about what kind of life they want a bit more. And as part of that, I've been talking about a network and a spider web and how we're all connected. And I've also been contrasting that with that kind of narrative of me on my own going up a ladder and then retiring. And part of that network that I want to talk about is the need for us, people who are older, to not just go, oh, that's it, I've done my bit, I've got my pension, I can retire now. Because we've had the life of Riley, most of us. I'm not saying everybody, but I was the generation where we got free grants. I got even got a housing benefit in the summer holidays, can you believe? And I think we could even sign on. So my degree was free. And the housing market, was possible for me to buy a house on my own. And so the work that I've been doing this year is really shown up for me the intergenerational wealth gap. And so I'm not good with statistics, but anyone that's interested, I can probably find them for you. But there's basically the people who are my age and older, it's been much easier for us to acquire and keep wealth than it is going to be and has been for those people who are under 30, who've had to pay for their further education if they've had one, who, property prices have gone up and up and up. So we know how hard it's going to be for a lot of those young people to ever afford their own property, particularly as they've got 60,000-70,000 pound potentially of student debt. And that obviously they're the ones that have been to college. We know that the gig economy of 0-hour contracts with no sick pay, no holiday pay, no stability. So I've worked coaching people who are on 0-hour contracts, and it makes things like childcare almost impossible because you can't. I was lucky enough to be able to put my children into childcare because I had a regular work pattern. So I knew when I regularly needed childcare, and I was earning enough to be able to afford that. But the gig economy has basically meant that people don't know their work pattern. So of course, nurseries and childminders are also trying to earn money. So that doesn't work for them. So it's hard to get childcare. And even if you can get childcare, you probably can't afford to pay for it because you're not earning enough. And so what the gig economy has done has meant that particularly younger people have got no security. It means that they are carrying the risk. It's great for the companies or the employers because it means that there's no risk for them, because if they don't need you to work, they don't have to pay you. There's no sick pay, there's no holiday pay. There's no risk to them. The risk is all carried by the people who are in those jobs, and they're often the people with the least cushion behind them, and they're often the younger people. And we know that people, particularly the baby boomers, are sitting pretty to a large extent on state pensions, on work pensions, on cheaper properties. So I certainly feel like part of my role as I get older, as well as kind of, obviously I've still got my own children, but I feel a real desire and responsibility to be a champion for and a supporter of the younger generations. And so, for example, around here, we've had an amazing young guy elected in as mayor locally, which I think is fabulous. He's ridiculously young. He really wants to do something amazing locally. And what I could bring to that is years of experience, but also I can bring in all my networks to support him, of people who've been working in fields who can give something back, people who can come in and help him do what he wants to do. And I can facilitate that by bringing in connections. I can support younger people by listening to them. And obviously some of that I do as paid work, some of it I don't. Some of it I just listen to people and help say to them, yeah, that is tough, or, you know, have you thought about it this way? Or actually to share some of my the last video was about social and cultural capital. So to be able to share some of that, to be able to say, I can introduce you to somebody, or have you thought about this, or there's this place, or here's a good article, or this is what I know about that. Because I think it's a cop-out if our generation, 50 upwards, 45 upwards, just sit back and go, we're fine, we're going to be out of here really before the climate catastrophe gets too bad. Yeah, we've got kids, but we're not really talking to them about it either, because we're in denial. And I've talked a bit about cognitive dissonance. And I just think we've had it good. You know, I know some people have chosen to go to war, some people have chosen to sign up to the forces. Bad stuff has happened, but my generation has not lived through a world war. Yeah, we had the miners' strikes in the 70s and we had the 3-day week, but I was a young kid then and it just felt like fun. It wasn't me that was trying to put food on the table and was worried about whether the electricity was going to come on, which is what we might be thinking this winter. So I think this is an invitation to us older people to not just kick back and do what it is that we're going to do in our retirement, but to keep engaged, to keep supportive in a way that is enjoyable to you. So I'm not for a minute suggesting you need to keep at the cliff face, but you know, maybe now this is the moment to get involved in kind of local action groups, you know, where we've got a bit more time, maybe we're not so worried about money, where we might have connections, to really start to bring those in and share them. So again, thinking about the web of connections rather than just the individual ones, but think about how we might share what we have with the younger generation, because my children, your children, and their children, we can't even predict what they're going to be living with. And so, and it's not their fault, is it? It's not them that has pumped CO2 into the world. It's not them that's ignored the science going right back to the 60s. It's not them that's, you know, that's flown as much as I have flown. It's not, that wasn't my children, that was me. And it just feels like abandonment, I suppose, to not, as someone who's older, rather than continuing on a kind of linear path away from engagement with the world into something that's nice for me, my garden, my friends, my nice things, but to stay engaged. You know, I'm not saying don't do that stuff, but to come back around and dig back in again without feeling the need to be seen to be doing that. So kind of when I got in touch with this young mayor to say, I can help you by bringing people in on, you know, really there's nothing. I don't need my name to be attached to it. I don't need thanks, nothing, because first of all, I can't wait to get all those people together and have those conversations and see what we can create. So there's gift enough for me. That's going to be great fun. But also to know that we've done, hopefully, that we'll be able to do something that has longevity and will move forward in a really positive way. I think do we at our age need to have our name on the tin of success? Do we need to go, that was Julie's project, or that was his project, or that was their article, or that piece of writing? Surely we've had enough of that by now, that kind of recognition, that kind of approval. And so it's, I suppose it's an invitation for us, if we're not all ready, to just to come back round, to look for opportunities where you can put your weight behind projects that you think are meaningful to you and purposeful to you, and just stepping in there and saying, is there anything I can bring? Is there anything I can offer? Is there anything you need that I can give? Yeah, I think that's all I want to say on that. I can hear thunder as well. Can you hear it on the video? It's still sunny.